752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends up, yes! Caught!
Touchdown! They did it! Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. We're here in studio, live, talking about what's going on in sports. An abbreviated show today, even more so than what we experienced yesterday. Utah Mammoth on the road. They're on an East Coast swing, which means their pregame coverage begins at 4:30 this afternoon. They'll drop the puck at 5. So very shortened show with us here on the Full Court Press this afternoon. It'll be the same story tomorrow as well, but we have a lot to get through and a lot to discuss. So we'll be on with you live, but then we'll just keep on rolling with our recording, so to speak. And so there will be bonus audio on the podcast, then more so than what you'd hear over the air. So
is it bonus audio if it's just kind of making up for some of us not being on the air because of the Mammoth game?
Maybe there's some of that.
We'll have about an hour's worth of content, a little more. And we're gonna try and do this more, and we're also working on ways to be on the stream, even when we're not able to be over the airwaves. But yeah, there's a lot of these Jazz and Mammoth games that'll be kind of kicking us off of our normal broadcast time, but we're going to do our best to make sure the content keeps rolling. We don't want to leave you guys without Utah State content, without our beautiful voices gracing your earbuds or your speakers or however you listen to us. So we're going to make sure that the content keeps rolling even as we hit the kind of peak of kind of our sports season, because like obviously football begins when we go with that, but like we get into basketball season and football season. Hockey season is now a part of that. So
yep.
High school sports season gets really busy, so we're hitting the busiest time of our year, or of our calendar. But we're going to make sure that content keeps rolling.
There's about I would say about a 5, maybe 6 week stretch where we get bumped a lot between Utah Mammoth, Utah Jazz. High schools are sometimes participating in tournaments that are not normally part of their regular or region schedules. So yeah, kind of late November through a big chunk of December. Yeah, we get bumped a lot.
Yeah. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into what time we've got. Mainly focused, and we've got the text line if you want to text in while we're live, 435-339-0321. Utah State basketball taking it to Westminster. That's just repeat that same headline for the last 3 times. They faced them 3 times in the last, I think, 3 or 4 seasons, and it's been triple digits to something in the 40s to 50s, like every single time. Aggies have set records against Westminster. I don't think any records were set in this one, but 110 to 54. That's solid. I don't think anybody's really going to complain about the efficiency of offense. Solid defense. Rebounding was good. You had 32 assists on 42 made field goals. 19 of 37 from 3, which was 2 off the program record, which was set against Westminster back in 2021. So, yeah, a lot of positive. You do have to qualify it with it is a Division II opponent, although we'll talk about a team later who didn't get the memo on what you're supposed to do against D2 opponents.
And it doesn't matter. Like, it won't affect their rankings, their net rankings at all, which that has to change.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
If you lose to a D2 team, that should absolutely affect how your computer rankings reflects your performance on the season.
So then you have to give people credit for when they beat a D2 team by 40 points. And I don't think that should count.
I guess that's partially
true. So in the
true.
rare event that you lose, I'm willing to toss that out of the net rankings if it means we're not including 50-point wins.
That's true, because that could greatly skew a lot of things.
Yeah, there's no need for that.
So with the game last night, the biggest questions coming into the true season opener for Utah State, there were a few of them. One was, Coach alluded to a couple of players might redshirt. So who would it really be? That became definitive through the night. And then the other questions were the scoring load. Would it be balanced? Mason Falsov has been somewhat quiet so far. Would he start to kick things in a bit? And just what would rotations look like generally for Utah State? And it's not really a true representation because the game last night, that was like a third exhibition game because their previous two exhibition opponents were even better than what they faced last night. So it's still not really a great representation of what we think rotations could look like. But I think we did get a few answers questioned. Let's start out with the redshirt question. Some of the 5 incoming freshmen. It was an exciting class, but there's just not enough room for all those guys. And it would benefit some of them to take time to develop, to be larger contributors next year. And Coach Calhoun settled on who those 3 would be.
Yeah, as promising as a lot of those guys are, there are some who are just based on where the roster is and how they have performed immediately. There were some freshmen who were better positioned for an immediate impact. Some just needed a little bit more time to figure things out and to develop. So David Owiesi, Braden Bowe, and Kingston Tosi will all redshirt this season. That was a decision that I believe Calhoun said he pretty much left up to them because it's a mutual decision. The coach isn't going to say, all right, you have to redshirt. Like if those guys really wanted to push it and try to play, I think even David Owiesi, where like I think right now there's an injury. The Aggies basically only had 2 centers out there for pretty much the entire game. There's room if there's injury there. Zach Keller missed the game with a sprained ankle. He sprained it on Saturday, actually. I didn't really notice because we interviewed Zach Keller in the we had the pregame
post-practice stuff.
It was the post-practice stuff before, a few days before the game. We're going to have another one of those on Wednesday, but Zach Keller was kind of walking gingerly, and I was like, I noticed it, but I didn't really think anything of it, mostly because he was walking about the way I do after I play basketball, but maybe I should have considered that not normal, because the reason I walk like that after basketball is because I'm fat and out of shape. For him, it's because he sprained his ankle.
He's playing injured, yeah.
There's a difference between him and me in that regard, I guess, one of plenty of differences between me and a Division I athlete. Which aren't always apparent, Derek. It's hard to tell the difference between me and a Division I athlete.
You really have to look closely. You have to look beyond the film and the obvious.
Yeah. So could he have played? Calhoun said he could have played if he had to, but it's a Division II team.
And let him get the rest.
Yeah, let him rest. So he'll get the better part of a week. Well, 6 days, I think. Sprained it on Saturday. He'll play on Friday. Could very well start. We'll see. Carson Templin got the start in this one. So in their 3 games, including the 2 exhibitions, they started 3 different centers, which that may be what happens a lot. But yeah, so for the freshmen that are redshirting, I think it's good for all of them. I would like to see David Owiesi get a chance to play, but I think Calhoun's wanted to go with a 3-man center rotation between Gary Clark, Carson Templin, and Zach Keller, and there's just not going to be enough room for David Owiesi. But for Kingston Tosi and Brady Bowe, it was pretty apparent with how little playing time they'd gotten in the exhibitions, let alone what would have happened in the regular season. It made a lot of sense for them. Owiesi was just kind of right on that edge, but I think he's gonna be a pretty solid center for the Aggies going forward. But to look at the freshmen who did play, my goodness, they both did good. They both got into double figures. Elijah Perryman had 10 points, 8 assists.
Well, let me ask you, Adlin, I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I want you to pronounce his last name because I heard it pronounced 3 or 4 different ways last night. Between radio and TV, I heard his last name pronounced, no kidding, 3 or 4 different ways.
It's Elamine. We had him say his name on our show.
Yes.
Adlan Elamine.
I heard Elaman.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Alaman.
That's horrible.
What was the other one?
Who said it? Alaman. Was it Fox?
No, I think it was Gerard.
Gerard? Oh, Gerard's usually good with that.
He said it. Gerard said it, no kidding, 3 different pronunciations. And it seemed like Fox was all over the place a little bit too. But a lot of similarities.
I expect that out of Fox. I don't expect that out of Scotty.
Yeah, it was like, can we not figure out this guy's last name? because he was making plays, and they got a chance to say his name quite a bit, which was exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting to see him display his athleticism, because you worry, like, okay, this freshman, the 6'9" freshman is going to go out there and he's just going to jack a bunch of 3-pointers, because that's like the skill that he had coming in. It was like, we know this is a Division I skill he has at this point as a freshman, is as a 3-point shooter. I know he wasn't terribly efficient. He was 2 of 7 from 3, but this is a guy who's got confidence, and he's a good shooter on this team. But he also had multiple blocks, like his length to just, guys try and get up a shot, and he's just like, well, no, you don't.
Yeah.
And a couple of good steals as well. He also showed really good fluid athleticism, which for a 6'9" freshman is hard to find a guy who moves as well as he does on defense. And then on offense, like Westminster was closing out his 3-pointers pretty hard. Sometimes it's just like, well, I'm 6'9", I'm going to shoot it anyway. Sucks to suck for you. But then other times he's attacking the closeout, and it's like he takes 1-2 steps and suddenly he's under the rim. It's like it was a lot of, and he went to the foul line a couple of times and went 4 for 4. So it's like you get 12 points out of Adlin, you get 10 points out of Perryman. I went and looked up, it's the first time they've had 2 freshmen score in double figures in the same game since like 2021. Stephen Ashworth and Raleigh Wooster, which I don't know if that's a good sign considering both those players transferred.
They're not around anymore.
At the end. But yeah, like these are 2 freshmen, and Perryman was fantastic. Like, I know people got hyped about Adlin. I'm just full on the Elijah Perryman train. Like, this kid could very well be the Aggies' best player on the team. Like, I was going to say by next season, and that might be an exaggeration, but it's not by much, to be perfectly honest.
8 assists, 2 steals. I mean, just fantastic play at the point guard position for him. So great, really fun ball movement for Utah State. Interesting to hear Coach Calhoun after the game, like, we didn't really run very many sets. Like, we've taught these guys some concepts and let them just kind of go out there and do things. And
rewatching the game, like, it plays out where they just kind of set up in the half court. And heck, a lot of times it was Perryman, like, for the portions that I was rewatching specifically, but he's just like directing traffic. You go there, you go there. It's and not in the way that you tend to see with sets where it's like, you're supposed to be here. It's just, they're just kind of running around, like, play to the next advantage. Set a screen here. Start this just basic action that they all kind of know how to do, and then go from there. And the way Westminster's defense set things up, it led to a lot of 3-pointers. Like, the Aggies aren't going to jack 37 3-pointers.
37 3-pointer
They're not going to do that. But, Utah State in their last 3 games against Westminster has hit 20. Well, their only 3 games against Westminster. Again, all have happened since December of 2022. It's 21 made 3-pointers, 17 made 3-pointers, and 19 made 3-pointers. And it's under 3 different head coaches. Westminster is daring teams to shoot threes. They're giving up those looks, and Utah State is gladly taking them. They're going to work the ball inside a bit more. But yesterday, it was just their chance to show off their 3-point shooting, because that's what the defense gave them. So they took it, and they sprinted with it. And even then, they got some work on the interior as well. They got 44 points in the paint. It's not like they abandoned the paint. They just happened to also shoot a ton of threes.
A lot of texts coming through. Let's get to those so we can clear them during the live portion of our show here. 9836, what do the students say in their Carson Templin chant?
So I've had people ask this, and mind you, this chant came up last year, and I don't remember hearing the question, but like, if you're an F1 fan, you'll recognize it. And mind you, I'm not a big F1 fan, but I'm aware of it and have followed a little
Max
bit.
Verstappen.
Yeah, it's a play on that where it's that same little jingle where they go do 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 do.
Yeah, you say his name, and then it's just do 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 do.
Well, I mean, the do do's come first.
Well, Carson Templin, do 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 do.
But yeah, it's a play on that. Just look up Max Verstappen song, and there's a whole song, but like it's that little jingle that is most familiar. It was made by some like Eurobeat band, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's
fans get into it.
It's very popular.
It's definitely a fan favorite.
I guess there's the same number of syllables in Carson Templin and Max Verstappen. I guess, technically 4 syllables between the 2 names, but first and surname. But yeah, so they're
just basically saying his name, and then
it's just
a few notes afterwards. Yeah,
Carson Templin, do 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 do.
2444 kind of looks like MJ Collins might have been overlooked as a preseason all-conference player Wouldn't have predicted it in the preseason, but I'm starting to think that he might lead the Aggies in scoring this year. Backcourt trio of Mason, MJ, and Drake is lethal because they're all such unselfish and well-rounded players that you can't effectively key in on any single one of them. I love what I'm seeing from this team so far.
Yeah,
great performance by MJ.
Yeah, it was great. And I'll have a little article on MJ Collins and his scoring. It is very early in my article. I kind of talk about where it's like we're early enough in the season that your hand should be hovering over the brake of the MJ Collins hype train, but your other hand's on the throttle. So it's like, it's in his 3 games, so in the 2 exhibitions and then this one, his per 30-minute scoring, and I adjusted to that because he's playing like 22, 25 minutes.
Yeah, he's not playing full.
These are exhibitions, and now a game against a Division II team in a blowout where he only played 21 minutes, I think, and he scored 23 points.
22 minutes.
22 minutes.
And 23 points.
Yeah, so in the 23 points. So his per 30 minutes scoring, when you adjust his stats per minute, you end up with 22 points, like 3.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists. And then his shooting splits are like 70% overall, 62% from 3, and then like he's 7 of 8 on free throws, which comes out to like 87, 86%. So the shooting percentages are going to calm down pretty quickly, but like he's the volume, I think he's led the Aggies in shot attempts in each game.
Well, very much following the Ian Martinez situation where he was at some power schools, didn't really get his shot. He comes to Utah State, gets a chance to rehab his game, and boom, he's instantly a great player, playing to his full potential. Certainly, that's looking like the same script playing out for MJ Collins early on.
Definitely, and like I'm on record in the offseason being like he was probably going to be more like Dexter O'Connell. Not that there's anything wrong with being like Dexter O'Connell. He had a fantastic year last year, but he was a role player, role scorer. Shoot a lot of threes, didn't do a ton else. I thought MJ Collins would fit that role, but he's very much looking more Ian Martinez, volume scorer, as opposed to role player who plays off of others. MJ Collins looks like he's going to create for himself. We've not seen the full extent because a lot of yesterday was, he hit 5 3-pointers, but some of them were, running to it in transition. He also got steals, creating some offense for himself, but he also hit, in the exhibitions was hitting some mid-rangers and getting to the hoop. So he's shown 3-level scoring with the Aggies, and I think we'll continue to see that.
8-9-6-8. Now basketball lost to who? I still don't feel for Boise. Yeah, definitely some schadenfreude going on among Aggie fans in northern Utah. Boise State loses in football on Saturday, and then they lose to D2 Hawaii-Pacific last night.
I had to look up what division Hawaii-Pacific was in. That tells you how bad of a loss that was.
Really embarrassing loss for Boise. 5338, texting in RAP Utah Warriors.
That's the rugby team, isn't it? Did they lose in the playoffs or something? I don't even know if their season's going on. Gotta
give us some more. Sorry, I don't follow the Utah Warriors that close. 9315. What? Why? No good sort show. How do we fit all the amazing basketball last night? We have 2 amazing freshman players. We can keep them for more than a year, but the cat's out of the bag. I could see one of them getting Dragon, the NBA. And then, can't Eric use his pull at the station to stop the bumping, or is he not a family member of the owners?
Well, those things are true, but like there are contracts and signatures and...
Yeah, we are... when we sign up to be affiliates for the Utah Jazz and the Utah Mammoth, that means we carry their games.
There's some sacrifices we have to make, but that's what it takes.
That's why we're providing bonus content on the pod. That's
what it takes to be the radio home of these professional teams here in Cache Valley.
5374. I don't see a scenario where we don't lose Elamine to the NBA or a power school next year. Dude is a baller.
Yeah, that's the well, it's the rough thing where it's like you find this potential gem, and it's like he has one good game, and it's like with the coaches, we're already talking about how they're going to leave. But Mason Falls will have to stick around.
Yeah, I mean, if he's here this year and he has a great year, awesome.
Pay him
Good thing we got him. Good thing we had him for that year. Yeah. If we get him next year, even better.
But you'd like to see him.
But let's enjoy what we have while he's here.
Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts, and especially like if you can keep one of Elijah Perryman and Adlin Elamine, it'll be good. But I think you can keep both of them because relationships are important in this as well, along with money, and we're seeing an increase in the funds for Utah State basketball. Yeah. So
Calhoun's being very aggressive in trying to raise money for recruitment and retention for Utah State. 7994, I was at the game. We have better 3-point shooting. I was glad to see Tucker shooting better. Still worried about our inside defense, but I realized Zach Keller did not play. Elamine looked lost when he first entered the game, showed real promise later, but he is a super lightweight. I wish Kearney could have scored. Also, Jordy shot much better.
Yeah, Jordy, he is so much more aggressive. Like, he didn't make a ton of impact scoring-wise. I know he ended up with like 7 points, but like, there were a lot of plays where he drove to the basket, like the aggression was there, but he didn't like finish it with the basket. So like the first part of the equation is there. Get in there, push the issue, because he's the guy who came in with amazing vision in the ability to find great shots, but he was lacking in the ability to begin forcing the issue against. Like, he could, if the defense gave him something, he can find it and he can make the pass. You saw that in high school where he had games with 25 assists. I'm not exaggerating, literally 25 assists. But, there's a difference between having amazing court vision and being able to force something to happen. Like, just go watch Chris Paul play, where he makes something happen and then he either hits a shot or makes the right pass. Jordy Barnes couldn't force the issue. Now he's beginning to force the issue, and that's the big next step for him to take, and he's beginning to take that.
Yeah, he was kind of a guy who would dribble. And look, he would help settle things down.
He's a good ball handler, good passer, good presence. He's got size, he's got good defense, but
taking more initiative as initiating offense, like getting things going for himself a little bit. Sometimes forcing defenses to react to him. That's something he kind of lacked last year. So it's good to see him kind of grow in that role.
And you want to see players, they go from promising freshmen to better sophomores, and ideally peak as they hit their peak as they become upperclassmen. So it's good to see that progression.
Yeah, and Luke Kearney didn't score, but it'll come. I mean, he was the only Aggie who didn't score, and that's unfortunate in the game where he put 110 on the board.
Yeah,
but
he's the one player who didn't have a really good game. It's going to happen. Calhoun went to bat for him, said that Luke Kearney's going to win them some games, because there's probably going to be one where he comes in and hits like 3 3-pointers. Much like what Tucker Anderson did at times last year.
Yeah. 6543. Not familiar with many of the preseason teams. Who are the better teams that the Aggies will face before conference play begins?
Certainly
one of them is this Friday.
VCU this Friday. South Florida in December. That's before conference play. We're seeing about Tulane. Tulane won their season opener. I got a peek at them as they were playing Samford. It was Samford, who's, sometimes they've been a good mid-major. Other than that, nobody
Boston College
great.
is a potential.
Yeah, the MTE, because that's Tulane, then either Boston College or Davidson. Those will all probably be Q2, Q3. But the big ones, VCU and South Florida, are the two ones to watch out for the most.
At least before conference play begins.
Before
and then you have that
play,
Memphis game that's kind of wedged in there.
Yeah, so those are your three big non-conferences, VCU, South Florida, and Memphis. At least as my preseason understanding is, things could change, but that's kind of my expectation there.
5338, regarding the Utah Warriors, they announced they are shutting down operations today.
Oh, that's no fun.
Oh, that's too bad. But
You're
maybe the fact that neither of us knew what was going on, probably reflective of...
That might be it. Like, they were a championship-winning rugby team, if I'm not mistaken.
Could be, but if nobody shows up to see it, does it really happen?
Well, most people don't show up to any sports that aren't the big ones.
Yeah, so that's too bad.
Like, you got some of the best ultimate frisbees played here in Utah, and it's like, but other than people who play ultimate frisbee, who's going to those?
Nobody knows. 5822. I loved when Jordy and Elijah were on the court at the same time. Those two wreak havoc on defense.
Yeah, they've got a really good point guard rotation. Like, Drake's obviously got a lot of positives, but and he's going to do a lot of good things for the Aggies this year, but the point guard position is in pretty good hands for the next several years.
Question from 9315. The USU basketball game, how do you watch it this weekend, and is it free?
It is on some random network whose name I've seen and heard but already forgotten.
Urban Edge Network.
Yeah, so I'm like, what the heck did I just click on?
I cannot tell you anything about the Urban Edge Network.
All I know is that we'll see if it's free.
We'll have to look into that, see how people can
watch it
access
somehow. That, or you can just watch Utah State women's basketball in the Spectrum at the same time as that VCU game. But you watch Utah coming to the Spectrum for the first time since like 2017.
Oh. The audio play-by-play will be on KVNU, but
it will.
I get it. We all like to see it with our own eyes and get our own interpretations of how things are playing out.
Yep.
As we said, shortened show here. We tried to run through as many of the texts that came in as we could. We got Utah Mammoth pregame coming up here shortly, but we're going to have the conversation continue, and it'll be bonus audio on our podcast. So watch for that when it gets published a little bit later on this evening. If you want to hear more about other games that happened throughout the Mountain West, that debacle in Boise, other observations of Utah State men's basketball, and Utah Jazz with an interesting win against a former Aggie last night. Came down to the wire. He played a role, could help to win the game for his team. But so stay tuned, I guess, on the pod for that. For those on the air, we're going to have to say goodbye, because Utah Mammoth pregame is coming up here shortly here on The Fan.
Yep. And then on the podcast, skip to 27 minutes, and we'll resume shortly.
Yeah, shortly. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Winter is coming. Let your local Napa store get you ready with deals on wiper blades from Rain-X, Trico, and Bosch. The long-lasting silicone blades are in stock now. How's diesel treatment case lot sale? Get the big half-gallon bottle for only $11.99 when you buy a case. Mobil 1, 5-quart jugs, $34.99. 50-pound bags of Blue Heat ice melt, $10. Oils from Rotella, Valvoline, Napa Premium, all on sale. Your locally owned Preston to Providence, Napa Auto Parts.
Napa know-how. Napa know-how.
From small homes to large businesses, Mountain Valley Heating and Air has you covered. Their team specializes in both residential and commercial services. When you choose Mountain Valley, you're choosing a full team ready to handle every detail, every time, so you and your business can always feel the love. Tune-ups, installations, or emergency service, whatever you need, we're here. Feel the love with Mountain Valley Heating and Air. That's mtnvalleyhvac.com.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. My wife and I were laughing the other day because she read an article about things not to buy online. The first thing was prom dresses. Dresses advertised versus dresses delivered. Needless to say, what people thought they were getting is not what they got. It's much the same with mattresses. Almost always, buying a mattress online ends in buyers being let down. At My Mattress, we try to always exceed expectations. Lower prices than online, and better beds. Only at My Mattress.
Thank you for letting Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, the Allergy Clinic, and the Hearing Aid Center care for your family this year. Be sure to call us for an appointment before the end of the year to make the most of your cafeteria or flex funds. Located in Providence and North Logan, Cache Valley ENT also has offices in Box Elder, Rich, Bear Lake, and Franklin counties. The entire team at Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat wish you and your family a healthy holiday season. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for details. Most insurance plans, including Select Health, are accepted.
Winter's here and that old car sitting in your driveway isn't getting any warmer. Turn that frozen junker into cold hard cash with DD Auto and Salvage in Logan. It's never too cold, too wet, or too late to clean up and cash out. DD Auto and Salvage makes it quick and easy. They'll even pick it up for you. Get the most money possible for your junk vehicle or scrap metal and earn a little extra holiday cash while you're at it. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204. And let DD Auto and Salvage pay you today. DD Auto and Salvage. Cold cars turned into hot cash.
If you're thinking about getting engaged this holiday season, S.E. Needham Jewelers is the place to shop for your diamond engagement ring. S.E. Needham's has the largest selection of wedding rings in the area, including hundreds of styles in platinum, white gold, and yellow gold. We import diamonds direct from Antwerp, Belgium, which enables us to guarantee the best price on diamonds. We also offer the most complete warranty and services of any store in the state. Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Keep your car running at its best with help from Napa Auto Parts. And if you need a battery or wiper blades, Napa has the best brands. Can even help you with installation right on the spot at the store. It's Napa Auto Parts. Multiple locations between Preston and Providence. Locally owned Napa Auto Parts. An extended podcast here. The regular show shortened because of the Utah Mammoth broadcast. But still wanted to take some time to discuss what happened last night for the Utah State men's basketball team, beating up on Westminster. Big win, 110-54. More observations of that game. And we talked about a few key players for Utah State. The freshman, MJ Collins, having a very solid game. But, somebody that we've kind of loosely talked about not seeing a lot of offense coming from him, and wondered if last night would be any different. That was Mason Falslev, who once again didn't get into double figures in scoring, but he did impact the game in multiple ways. 9 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and still affecting the game in various ways. Not really that scoring punch, not really attacking as much as we've known him to provide, but with what MJ Collins was doing, did he really need to?
Well, I'd actually disagree and say that he was attacking. He was more aggressive than I think. It was a lot more like last season, where sometimes it was select aggressiveness in terms of looking for his own shot. But like, he played 16 minutes and he scored 9 points. If he plays double that, he gets 18, and that's that was a night at the office last year.
True.
So he was himself. The big thing was that his first stint on the floor was cut short, or maybe cut short because he might have been about to get subbed out. Because I think Colby King was coming in, who I think ended up subbing for him. As Mason got poked in the eye, was sitting on the bench icing his eyeball for for 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. So he probably would have played like 20, 21 minutes, similar to what Collins and Colby King ends up playing 23. He would have played a little bit more, but he goes out there, gets 9 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, had the second best plus minus on the team, even in 16 minutes. They were plus 32 with him on the court. So that was, I think, encouraging because he had the first 5 points of the game for the Aggies. He got to the rim in a transition attempt, got to the free throw line, hit the 2 free throws, hit a 3-pointer on the next possession. So he had the first 5 points of the game for the Aggies, added a couple of buckets later on in the game. So sure, low scoring numbers, but you saw what you wanted to see out of Mason in what was ultimately a relatively short amount of time. So I think if you were worried, which I don't know if that quite described my feelings toward Mason Falslev in those exhibitions, but it was lower scoring, it was less, maybe a little less aggression, but you saw what you needed to see out of Mason in this one on offense and defense. He just only played 16 minutes and was and was knocked out for 5 or 6 minutes because he got poked in the eye. And he was playing with one eye during one of the possessions, he got poked. I think he lost the ball or something like that. He wasn't credited with a turnover, so there's just one play where he's bending over, holding his face, runs down into the court, playing defense, trying to where's my guy? He's bending over every couple of seconds. Because, again, he's been poked in the eye. Coach Calhoun goes over to the ref and is pointing my guy, he's suffering out there. Mason's only able to see half the floor, and he's in pain. And it's can we stop the play? I'm playing with 4.5 players right now. But then there was a tip out of bounds, and Mason got to come out. So, it's good stuff from Mason there, even if in low volume.
So, a lot of players got opportunities to get on the court and for extended time. It wasn't just a few players getting some minutes in garbage time. Nobody played less than 13. But
nobody played more than 24.
Yeah, nobody played. Well, Gary Clark played 25. But
this says 24 on Monday. Maybe it was a little over 24.
Maybe they rounded it up for mine that I'm looking at. But, not really extended minutes for really anybody, but opportunities for guys to be on the court, get a rhythm, get a feel for where they needed to be, what they needed to do. But back to Gary Clark, in 24, 25 minutes of play, he gets a double-double. This is a guy that there was some excitement about before he got to campus, what he could do and what he could look like. But he's kind of been overshadowed by some of the other things that have happened since he arrived, and looking at some of the practices and exhibitions. But he played really well last night, scoring and pulling down rebounds and kind of anchoring that low post.
Yeah, and it was good. I think there was a couple issues early on with both Gary Clark and Carson Templin for interior defense. They kept fouling. They got better as the game went along. They had a tough assignment with pretty big. What was his name? Mike Frazier. Where he's 6'10", has an inside-outside game. He ends up scoring 11 points, but they forced him to 5 of 11 shooting, So he had 11 points on 11 shots. That's good defensive efficiency, and then 3 turnovers. But yeah, Clark, he showed that he's, I think, could very well be the best rebounder on the team. Not just in that he got those, because I was noticing during the game, like, hey, they're fighting for that rebound, and Gary Clark went up there and fought for it, or he went for it, and there was one play where it seemed like a throwaway effort. Here, I'm just going to go up there, and I'm just going to tap at the ball, kind of almost hitting him like a soft volleyball spike, but it ended up pinballing around and rolled to the feet of, I think it was Drake Allen. So this kind of throwaway effort of, there's no chance I'm going to get this, but what the heck, I'll try and cause chaos, and it resulted in an offensive rebound for one of his teammates. I don't know if he got credit for that one specifically, but he created a rebound out of nowhere. And that tends to be the mark of a good, rebounder. If you just get the rebounds that fall to you, all right.
Yeah.
You got a ball that bounced right to you. Do you create rebounds? And Gary Clark created rebounds, or at least kept the opposing team from creating their own rebounds with his box out, going up and getting those. He got 4 offensive boards himself. So it was a great rebounding effort from Gary Clark, and I don't know if enough people appreciated that, but I did in time. I was able to notice that and be like, that was a good rebounding effort from Clark.
Yeah, very solid. Not just getting double-digit figures and rebounds, but far and away above anybody else on the team in how many rebounds he was able to pull down, and 7 of those on defense, taking away second chance opportunities from the opponent. So.
Yeah, which is like you look at offensive rebounds for some guys who are great rebounders, but when other teams are throwing numbers at you and you got to fight for your own rebound, like defensive rebounds are sneaky hard to get against some teams. Not that Westminster was going to be truly a challenge because they don't have the athleticism and length that the Aggies do, but Gary Clark is going to be key for both defensive and offensive rebounds this year, especially when a lot of times he's going to be the center on the court.
It was already brought up, but it was good to see Tucker Anderson hitting from 3, something that we knew he was capable of being a sharpshooter from beyond the arc, but just struggled most of the season, obviously playing better away from home than at home, which was an oddity for him. But good to see him kind of settling in, 3 for 5 from 3, and just part of that dynamic 3-point attack for Utah State this year.
Yeah, and probably the weirdest trend I've ever seen in my life is Tucker Anderson shooting 40% from 3 away from the spectrum last year. In 11 true road games, he shot 40% from 3. He shot 20.7% in the spectrum in 16 games. Like, I have never seen such an absurd reversal of what's
you'd think
typical.
It'd be the other way around.
But yeah, he goes, as you said, 3 of 5 in this one in the spectrum. I think he's put in a lot of work, and sometimes this is just a mental game as well, because he was a good 3-point shooter before he came to Utah State, and then for a weirdly large amount of the season last year, he wasn't a good 3-point shooter. But this is a guy who's going to be key. He's seems to have nailed down that starting power forward spot as he started the 2 exhibitions and this game against Westminster. So he's got to be that guy on offense. Got to obviously, make impacts on defense. I think there's room for him to improve as a rebounder, but he's also one of the guys that's running in transition. So he's not always one of the guys explicitly crashing the boards, because he's a terror as a transition threat in terms of his ability to hit those 3-pointers. So I think we'll see some pretty good things from Tucker Anderson. And as we saw in the exhibitions, we saw an expansion of his own self-creation.
Yeah, and I guess that would be one thing that is worth kind of keeping an eye on with him. Is he just going to be a 3-point shooter? Because he's worked on his body. He's created more strength, more muscle mass. Can he mix things up and do some things by attacking the rim, or at least being effective lower? Instead of just being a perimeter threat, can he do some things on the interior as well?
Yeah, and I don't think the occasion presented himself, because I don't think
last
I remember,
time not a good opportunity for him to showcase that.
I don't think there was ever a case where it seemed like it was the right option for him to attack the basket. There were those occasions, in at least the Seattle exhibition, where I was able to watch it live, and he did that multiple times. I don't know if he did it against San Francisco at all, but the opportunity came up in those games, and it didn't so much against Westminster because he had some open looks from 3 and he hit him. So, but I think we're going to see an expanded role for Tucker Anderson. I don't know if we're going to see this drastic rise in stats, because with with the Aggies looking to play, I don't think the rotation is going to be as open as it's not going to be as open as it was. You'll see guys like Perryman and Elamine and Kearney. They're not all going to play 10, 15 minutes. They're going to play between 5 and 10. So that's going to give some more minutes to Tucker and some of these guys.
True.
But it's not going to be like this, crazy rise in stats from Anderson, but you're going to see an increase in his impactfulness, if not necessarily his stats.
Any other observations from last night? I guess one other player that I do want to highlight is Drake Allen. Drake Allen has had moments where he's somewhat hot and cold, moments where he looks great on the court and he is a menace to opponents. But then we've also seen times where he is yelled at by the coaches and he's pulled off the court because he's making mistakes. But last night, very solid performance by Drake Allen. Only 4 points, but 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Like, he was really affecting the game in a lot of different ways.
Well, I think what we've seen from Drake Allen is that there are some guys who their role is to score. MJ Collins has, I think, 2 or 3 assists across the 2 exhibitions and this game. He's there to score. That's not to say he's a selfish player. It's just sometimes you have a role, and when the ball gets passed to you, it's your job on that play to score because you're the guy in position. And that's kind of where your skill set lies. Drake Allen, he's not as talented a scorer as MJ Collins or Mason Falsev. He can still get his shots sometimes. He attempted 4 of them. But he's a guy that is able to create offense, sometimes for himself, but he had 9 assists in one of the exhibitions, 7 in the other, I think, and then 9 against Westminster. This is a guy who's going to go out there and he's going to make plays. He's going to make the right plays, going to get some steals. He's also an improved rebounder. That was something that Coach Calhoun said Allen needed to improve on. This guy who's listed as a 6'5" point guard. You're not one of these 6-foot guys that you just only grab it when it comes to you. This is a guy who's got to go out there and fight for rebounds, create rebounds, which he did on a couple of occasions. And especially where the Aggies don't have like a towering big who can just be taller than everyone else. You've got to go out there and fight for it, and he did just that. So, yeah, he's not scoring, but Drake Allen is again going to be an impactful player for the Aggies, offensively, defensively. I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of recognition for what he does, but he's going to make an impact. I guess much like Tucker Anderson in some degree, I don't think he's going to put up the stats to get a whole lot of recognition, but Aggie fans who watch Drake Allen are going to appreciate what he brings to the table.
I lied. There's one other player I want to talk about.
There's one other. Let's see if it's the same person.
Colby King.
That's exactly it.
Leading scorer off the bench. The other newcomer worth paying attention to and worth noting. But 16 points off the bench. Very efficient, 6 of 10. He also hit 4 3-pointers last night. I mean, everybody except Gary Clark attempted a 3 last night. And so it's kind of interesting, this team, like a few things that were notable. Everybody scored except Luke Kearney was the other interesting note of the game. But as far as like Colby King, here's another guy that is a newcomer to the squad and trying to see how he fits in to this system. What role can he play? How will he affect the game? And I thought it was a really nice performance. 16 points, 2 boards, 1 assist. But interesting to just kind of see how his role kind of continues to develop in his rotation too. 23 minutes off the bench.
Yeah, and to be honest, as great as it was to see him hit those 3-pointers, and that will be a major part of his impact offensively, is his ability to shoot the ball, his ability to get out in transition, and he had a couple of very smooth layups in transition, I think even in the half court, and then the 3-pointers in the half court or in transition. But as much as all that is exciting, the thing that I love most about watching Colby King is watching him play defense. He got a bit of a mean whistle where he got whistled for a few that didn't feel like they maybe should have been whistled. He ended up having the 4 fouls. But this is a guy who is a good defender. And there's going to be some games where Colby King plays 35 minutes maybe, where, in heck, even if he only scores like 2 points in that game, and he might still play 35 minutes solely for his defense, although, it's not like he's going to supplant Drake Allen, but like, maybe on an off night, if one of the other guards is having a rough time, you bring in Colby King for volume minutes just to guard the opposing point guard because of his ability to keep with them, to be a pest, to get his hands in there and cause deflections. Even though he's not like this super long player, he is a good defender, and the Aggies have some pretty pesky perimeter defenders with Colby King. MJ Collins is probably the most underrated defender on the team right now. Where it's not just the fact that he's got like 7 or 8 steals in these exhibitions plus this season opener. He's just a good, solid defender. He guards the ball. So that's so I guess I'm getting off topic with Colby King, but like that's just something that I really love watching these guys, and Elijah Perryman too. Like they've got some guys who are absolutely committed to defense.
Okay, so this was something else I wanted to get your observations on, because we'd heard Coach say, last year it was this matchup zone. And guys were quick to rotate and be where they needed to be, but generally it's a zone concept. But this year would be morphed a little bit into more man, still some matchup zone concepts.
It looks a lot more.
But what did you see last night?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily qualified to fully analyze this, but it looked looking to be more like a heavy switching man-to-man defense. And Calhoun has talked more about just playing more man-to-man. The best defenses in college basketball play man-to-man. And I think they've talked about taking cues from other teams, talked about learning from Houston, who, for one, last year I don't think they had a super high average height, but they were still one of the best defenses in the country. The Aggies aren't going to have a very good average height number, but there are teams that rank pretty low in average height but still have elite, obviously some of the best teams still do have that elite length, but the Aggies, with the length they have at certain positions, they can be menaces on defense. But that is going to require them to likely play more man-to-man. And I think they're going to do that. And they've largely done that. There's still some of that zone concept there. You're still seeing a lot of that matchup zone. But it looked good. There's still some worries about the interior defense. It was a little slow coming along. Like I said, there were some fouls inside. Gary Clark, Carson Templin. The problem is, neither of them are very disciplined rim protectors. Carson Templin is actually pretty poor in terms of his rim protection discipline. He got a nice block, but he also got, pump faked into the air like 2 other times. So there's some lacking discipline there. Zach Keller has a bit more of that discipline, and that's where they're going to need him, where even if he's not a super good rim protector, if you get a 6'10", 245-pound guy out there to be disciplined, get his hands in the air, don't give another guy good position, he's going to play good defense even if he doesn't rack up a ton of blocks.
Yeah, he'll have an important role to play.
Yeah, so that's something that Zach Keller will probably bring that Gary Clark and Carson Templin are struggling to do a bit right now. But I think the defense, it looked good. It ended up looking better because of the caliber of opponent. But I'm encouraged by, just because of the athleticism of this team and the commitment. Because if you've got the commitment and mentality plus the athleticism and a pretty decent amount of length, like all of those things go into being an elite defensive team. So much of it is mindset, but then having the length and athleticism are kind of bridging the gap between being an okay defense or a decent defense and being a defense that can actually impose its will. Because last year the Aggies just kind of hung on and were good enough for most of the season, got beat up late in the season, but can you be like a San Diego State who impose their will on you defensively? And Utah State's flashed a bit of the potential to do that. I'm not confident they will, but they've at least kind of flashed that potential to some degree.
Yeah, so nice things from Utah State last night. It was a third exhibition. This was it technically counted, so the roster and rotations had to be different than what we saw in the previous 2. But I think what we saw was this is a team that has versatility. This is a team that we'd heard from Coach Calhoun that they've spent a lot of time working on defense, not a lot on offense. He was concerned about the turnovers from his team, but this was a team last night that exhibited a lot of offensive potential despite only running a few offensive sets. Yes, they can still be a little bit more fine-tuned with their in kind of limiting some of the turnovers, but a lot of real positives for this Utah State team as they opened up the 2025-2026 basketball season.
Yeah, there are a lot worse ways you could have opened it up, as at least one other team in the Mountain West found out.
Yes, in case you were living under a rock, a big loss last night in Boise, losing to Hawaii-Pacific. Now, Hawaii-Pacific had the lead at halftime. They had a little bit of a lead as the game was going on, but
this is wild to follow because like the game was happening at the same time as Utah State and Westminster. Went a bit longer because their game was close, but just like I saw somebody tweet out a score, and at first I thought it was Hawaii, like regular old Hawaii, Honolulu, playing Boise. But then I was like, no, that says Hawaii-Pacific. That's not the name of that university.
They had a full house. I mean, there's been a lot of hype on this Boise team. They had nearly 10,800 people in attendance, and they lose to a Division II team. And it's not like, okay, we're doing some things with rotations. This other team has kind of caught us on a few things. Yeah, we'll get them in the second half. No.
Yeah. Well, it's not like an exhibition where it's like, sometimes you're just like, didn't Stu Moore like lose an exhibition to some random? But it's because you're just throwing guys out there. The other team, you're literally telling the other team, run this because I think we're weak at this right now, so run this at us. And Utah State was doing that with Seattle and San Francisco. Here we're going to tell each other what we're running, so we can get an idea of where our team is at. But no, it's like this is for keeps. You're playing this for your actual record that will show up. On your official, and mind you, I need to emphasize this, it will show up on Boise State's team sheet.
Yes, it will.
It will. Like, people have been pretending like, oh, like, it won't count toward the net. Like, and a lot of other metrics, they tend to just throw out Division II games because it tends to be enormous outliers, and it's filler data that just doesn't need to be there, so they just throw it out. But despite whatever misinformation that's running around, it will show up on their record, on their schedule, on their team sheet. If Boise ends up on the bubble at some point, the committee members will look and say, look, they lost to a Division II team. They're not going to be
at home.
Yeah, they're not going to get the team sheet, and everyone's going to be like, oh, where's their Division II game? I guess it didn't happen. Oh, whatever. No, it will be in consideration. It will be there. It may not show up in the overall like metrics of the net in Hasametrics and KenPom and KPI and all these others. Like, I think some of them might take it into account, but a lot of them, again, filter out D2 games because they're usually 40-point blowouts and they skew the data. So they don't want to include that. So, yeah, Boise State lost to a Division II team, and it will haunt them the entire season because everyone knows that's the team that lost to a D2 team. That Mountain West team that lost to Hawaii-Pacific, that's Boise State. Everyone's going to know about it. Every bracketologist is going to look at that schedule and see, wait a minute, they lost to a D2 team.
This is going to be a big distraction for Boise. So it'll be interesting to see just how they come out of it, because it's torches and pitchforks right now in Boise. It's not been a good 48 hours in Boise.
No, it has not, because
they lost to Fresno. They lost their quarterback. He's hurt. Then they lose to a D2 team in their season and home opener. But here's some detail about Hawaii-Pacific.
Ooh, fun stuff.
It's the university itself is located in a former strip mall.
That sentence could have only been improved if it had ended with the word club instead of mall.
Plays their home games in a former Franciscan Adult Day Center facility.
That almost sounds like a fancy name for a strip club.
And we have high school gyms bigger than what they play in.
Yeah, like I saw a picture they posted. It wasn't like a great like picture of the whole arena, but like they just showed a picture of them playing in their arena. It was like, yeah, that looks like Logan High's gym.
Yeah, it looks like the girls' gym.
Yeah, more specifically their girls' gym. The main Grizz gym probably looks better than their main one, where it's like one set of bleachers on either side of the stands, if that.
Yeah.
And
you might be lucky if you get 2,000 people there.
Yeah, 2,000 people if you're breaking the fire code.
But they had 10 steals. Boise only had 3 steals on the night.
Yeah, and so, to be honest, I think Boise's going to be better than this. Well, they are.
They are.
They're better than this. You're better than the worst game you play, and this is going to be the worst game Boise plays. Or at least I hope so, for their sake. But I think maybe what is kind of haunting them a little bit is, they went all in on getting some size. They got pretty promising freshman Spencer Ahern's, 6'10" freshman, 6'10", 230 pounds already. Drew Fielder. To be honest, I don't know if there was a moment for me to say this, but if you'd have asked me, I would have said Drew Fielder is going to be one of the best centers in the conference. He does end up with 13 points and 7 rebounds, but he wasn't nearly as impactful as I would imagine he could be on the inside, and he's also a stretch 5. But it kind of seems to be, and I was looking at the halftime box score, and he only had 2 points. So he does end with the 13, and Dylan Andrews has 15 points, 9 assists. But I think for Boise, they show that they kind of struggle hitting 3-pointers a little bit again. That was a problem for them last year. That's why Pearson Carmichael got to play last year, is because he was a freshman who could hit 3-pointers, though I think he only ended up shooting 30%. And he shot 1 of 4 last time. So I don't know, maybe Boise just had a bad shooting night. That was some of the commentary I was seeing on Twitter. They were missing a bunch of wide open looks. But you shot 42% against the D2 team, 30% from 3. You're going to get the shots. You're going to get some good looks and good shots against the D2 team. They're more athletic than Hawaii-Pacific. They have more skill on their team. They should, they have better coaching, all that. You should be able to get to your spots and hit the shot. That's what Utah State did. They weren't even really trying to run plays, and they found their spots, found their shots, and they made them. And even if they'd have made only half of them, they still would have beat Westminster by 20 points.
Yeah.
But Boise, I guess they're just not a good shooting team again.
Yeah. And just I did see some plays, some highlights of some plays late that they had their center wide open in the low post with 6 seconds to go. But the point guard just didn't see him or wouldn't pass it to him.
Yeah, I think that one was a little overblown because I saw that play too. And what the angles, you probably could have lobbed it to him anyway, because I believe that was Drew Fielder, I think. It was either him or Ahern. I wasn't looking specifically at the number, but it was a big 6'10" guy being guarded by a 6'7" guy. The problem was they did have a second defender hanging out behind him, and passing in that situation is usually just asking for a turnover, and Dylan Andrews would have been able to see that, whereas the center, who is jumping up and down thinking I'm wide open, he doesn't see the guy behind him who would steal the ball if you tried to pass it to him.
Yeah.
So he was kind of fronted by one guy in front of him, and he had a guy behind him, so technically wasn't as open, but you could have tried anyway. He's 6'10", and the 2 guys guarding him were about as tall as I am, so he could have at least tried. Instead, they got a mid-range 2-pointer, so maybe I shouldn't be defending him too much, because the options were pass to the 6'10" guy guarded by guys who are half a foot shorter than him, or take a mid-range 2. One of those is often better than the other.
Hawaii-Pacific had a 7-point lead with 3 minutes to go. So
yeah, so they got that lead, and they dang near blew it, and Boise State should have come back, and they had the ball. They forced a turnover. Hawaii-Pacific had the ball with 33 seconds left. And so Boise didn't have to get a turnover, but they did with I forget how much time it was. It was 20-ish seconds. They managed to force a turnover with a full court press. So they get a full play. Not a rush play. It's not 6 seconds where you got to rush the ball up the court and run something quick. They got a full play. And they ended up with 2 shots. Dylan Andrews' 2-point attempt, and then I forget who got the rebound, but got tipped around. They threw up a last-second prayer from the mid-range, which, dang, if that didn't almost go in. But they had every chance to win it in the end, and they just couldn't make the plays they needed to in the end. Or they made some of the plays. They made half the plays, but in the end, not the ones they needed to.
Let me just drop this in here real quick before we get through the other scores from the Mountain West. Just a reminder from our sponsors, Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning. Good time to get your feel the love and feel the savings. There's current tax credits and government rebates that are available where you can save 40 and 50% on new heating and cooling systems. But those rebates end this year. So call now to get your home on the schedule to get that taken care of and take advantage of those opportunities. 435-557-4181. 435-557-4181. But throughout the rest of the Mountain West, that Boise game stands out above most of the rest. But San Jose State went to Utah to take on the Utes, and Alex Smith got his first win as a head coach there, 84-75. San Jose gave him a challenge.
They did. It was good. I thought it was funny though, because I was reading a recap. I think it was the Salt Lake Tribune, where they mentioned that I think Alex Jensen, like as a player, was undefeated in as a player at home. During obviously a very dominant run for the Utes way back when. And they said he's now undefeated as a head coach, and I was like, excuse me.
As college head coach, maybe.
Well, no, because it doesn't count. But they lost to Nevada in the Huntsman Center, unless they played that exhibition in the Delta Center.
In that exhibition game.
But they lost to another Mountain West team.
That's true. That's right.
On their home court, again, unless they played it somewhere else that I'm pretty sure was in the Huntsman Center. I know it doesn't count, but maybe don't write such a flattering headline and lead when, like, it's kind of not true. Like, it is true. Like, officially on the record books, it is true. But, like, that only happened like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's pretty recent.
Like, if you ask them, like, you're undefeated on your home court as a coach, and it's like, well, except for that Nevada game.
Sort of, yeah.
And you beat San Jose by like 11.
But for the Spartans, Colby Garland was their leading scorer with 21. Yeah. They had a couple of guys in double figures, but they ultimately end up losing that one.
They did better than I thought they would, Spartans.
And really, they were, let's just
mind
run
you,
through.
the Utes were picked last in the Big 12.
Yeah,
as a reminder.
Not much to be expected.
So this is like
them.
last place or maybe second to last place team in the Mountain West. We'll see where the Spartans end up, but close to the bottom end of the Mountain West versus the bottom end of the Big 12, and the gap wasn't really that big.
No, it's true. Fresno State beating Fresno Pacific 88-51.
What is it with these Pacific teams? That'd be a fun game. Fresno and Fresno Pacific. Does Hawaii play Hawaii Pacific? I feel like they should.
They should.
That should just be their exhibition.
Geographically, it makes sense. Probably.
You cut down on some travel.
Grand Canyon beating Purdue Fort Wayne 90-71. Big first half for Grand Canyon, leading 49-27.
Grand Canyon looking good, and as the resident Grand Canyon hater, that game made me look kind of bad.
Colorado State beating Incarnate Word 98-64.
I have to add. I forget who, because I want to give them credit. Who was it? Basically, they screenshotted it was at some point during the Fresno State game. I was like, so this is what Fresno State looks like when they aren't points shaving. I'm sorry to whoever posted that. I can't remember who it was, because I'd love to give that credit, because it was an amazing joke. I loved it.
Well, for Fresno, Jake Heidbreeder had 19 points. Deshaun Gorey with 14.
Yeah, his return to playing for a Mountain West team.
Yeah.
He should have a good season. I don't know if Fresno State's going to be like, redeem themselves from being a bottom 3 team, but maybe they won't be like that bad.
Wyoming beat up Northern State 99-75.
Northern State. That is
no idea where they're located.
That is the single most generic college name I think I have ever heard.
They could be located in any number of a dozen different states.
Yeah. Imagine they're in like Virginia
or Alabama.
Yeah, or better yet, somewhere that's actually south. But it's like, or it'd be funnier if they were in like South Dakota, which is a northern state, but like South.
Yeah,
that would be pretty funny.
That would be funny.
I'm gonna have to look this up now. Where they're
and then while you do that, the other Mountain West score from last night: Air Force losing to Belmont at Belmont, 79-63. And we know Air Force is going to struggle. It's going to be a challenge for them, but kind of a struggle for certain in their first game to get things started.
Okay, so you know what I said about South Dakota? You want to guess where Northern State is?
North State? is in South Dakota?
Aberdeen, South Dakota.
Wow. Pretty good.
Northern State is in the South. Like, I know it's north of most states anyway, South Dakota, but like the fact that their Northern State University is in South Dakota. That's just the most amazing thing today I've seen.
That's pretty good. Like we're short on time because I got to dip out to go to Utah State football practice. I got some interviews to do. Last night, the only thing to really pass along, Utah Jazz getting a nice win on the road at Boston.
Sending Nemish Keta to defeat.
Nimi, I feel bad. Nimi was at the line, chance to really give them a lead late in the game. Missed a free throw. I know he missed at least one. I don't know if he missed both.
So one time I'll celebrate Nemish Keta missing a free throw.
But Nimi had 9 points, 8 boards, and assists, 2 steals. He was a plus 15 on the night.
He's quietly been a guy who averages like 9 points, 9 rebounds. Flip a coin as to whether or not he'll be in double figures for either stat. He's been a consistent presence for them.
Yeah, but for the Utah, Keontae George was fantastic.
Yeah, we're going to have this conversation later, but I might have been wrong about Keontae George for a while.
Keontae and Lowry seem to be the 2 guys that are most consistent every night for the Jazz.
Walker Kessler when he's on the court, but currently out at the moment.
Currently out, but nice win for Utah, getting a win on the road in a close situation where they've struggled in some of those. So
that's nice.
Jazz are 3-4 on the season. That'll do it for us. Thanks for keeping on with the podcast, even though we were live in the first part of it. Gave you some bonus stuff at the end. Shortened show again tomorrow, and we will do something similar. Well, we'll have some live stuff at the beginning, able to interact with texts and our live audience. But then we'll just we'll take a brief break, but then we'll come back and continue the pod with some bonus audio. But thanks for tuning in, and check out other episodes on our website or on our mobile app.